Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is the most recent game of the Deus Ex franchise, so I'll be looking at the game with all DLCs and additional modes. Let me say this beforehand, I won't be covering the controversy surrounding this game, however, I will have to mention it during the course of this review. The story takes place in 2029, 2 years after the end of Human Revolution and 23 years before the events of the first Deus Ex game. Similar to Invisible War, a little bit of every Human Revolution ending is canon, but basically this happened at the end. Every important person survives, but Adam Jensen sacrifices himself. As always, there's much more to the 2-year time gap, but I can't go into more detail for spoiler reasons. Adam Jensen is now a member of TF-29, an anti-terror unit backed up by Interpol. Unfortunately, I can't go into more detail about the story as it is too deeply involved with the first game and especially Human Revolution. This obviously raises the question, will you be able to be completely lost in this world if you're a new player? The answer to that is no. But the developers prepared a long video summarizing the events of Human Revolution, though obviously not every detail could be covered. That being said, others won't get bored because even though this is a prequel, there are many plot twists and lore details that they didn't know about before, like how the resistance group Silhouette came to existence. In addition to that, veteran players can look forward to the best mission design yet in the franchise, although the main story has one big hiccup when it comes to a story item that is hidden without any hints underneath a table behind a bunch of bags. This extends to the game itself, as the main campaign feels like an afterthought on rare occasions, though most of it is solid. The problem is that almost every side quest outshines the main campaign. The writing is excellent as usual, but the plot is, with the exception of lore details in the post-credit scene, foreseeable. Which is also thanks to the antagonist who appears out of nowhere and who is never really elaborated on if you don't intend to explore. In that case, he's just another random bad terrorist with more authority who needs to be stopped. The side quests, on the other hand, are full of twists, lore, have interesting stories, and change depending on what you do before and during the quest. They're also pure fun to play, as the quests always offer you multiple ways to complete them with consequences that are more often than not impossible to foresee. Of course, there are multiple outcomes that heavily differ. This in combination with the gameplay makes this by far a contender for the arguably best Deus Ex. If you are simply interested in the story and lore of Deus Ex, then that alone will be a good reason for you to buy the game. You won't leave empty-handed, especially in regards to the social commentary. The gameplay works well with the social commentary as Adam Jensen is more powerful than ever before. I'm talking gameplay more complex than the first Deus Ex here, and no, the melee combat of the first Deus Ex wasn't complex. It was rather
No upgrade is useless?
You can customize your weapons more than ever before.
It's no use!
Fascinating new augmentations.
Exploding arm blood!
Stealth gameplay has never worked better and the leveling system of Human Revolution returns. That means that if you go stealth, you earn a lot more experience points in comparison to running and gunning. However, the balance has been retweaked, so that running and gunning gets you even less experience points. That, together with the significantly better AI, makes running and gunning a true joy for FPS gamers that look for a challenge, though you must play the higher difficulties starting from normal. It's my honest opinion, but I think the gameplay as a whole is the best of the entire franchise, as I already mentioned. Stealth gamers can look forward to lots of exploration that is always rewarded thanks to the extremely smart level design, and FPS gamers can look forward to a lot of adrenaline pumping, natural feeling combat situations with lots of weapon customization and additional perks. The only issue I've ever noticed in the level design is that a shortcut later in the game is not accessible if you don't have one of two specific augmentations. Though that shortcut is intended for stealth players to begin with, as they are more likely to have these augmentations. So after all that praise, is there something I forgot? The music is an awesome ambient soundtrack again, and the sounds really pack a punch. On the other hand, we only have Prague as the central hub without any additional cities. All the other locations are connected to one main quest and are rather short. Also, there is a dark side to this game. One, to potentially ruin your entire experience. The optimization of this game is awful. It isn't a case of it's not so good, but it's a case of being f***ing bullshit. There are no game-breaking bugs. And once you've spent a good chunk of 1 or 2 hours messing with the settings, then it's a lot of fun to play, but this issue still shows its face even then. Loading times that take a bunch of minutes, glitches, getting stuck, items that aren't approachable, and the entirety of New Game Plus being unplayable due to random crashes. If that wasn't bad enough, there's a constantly present middle finger to show you that it's clearly not the fault of the developer. That is in form of this cute little menu option that basically says microtransaction and several reminders in the game itself to try out the new awesome breach mode. The funny thing about this is the microtransactions are f***ing useless because the game was never designed with them in mind. Basically proving that this and the breach mode were just last minute shove-ins, and this really hurts the game as a whole. But perhaps I'm too biased. Let's look at the breach mode. It introduces few new gameplay elements to Deus Ex, but the level design is so poor that it quickly becomes boring. Good job! Time wasted. Game suffered. Seems like a true win-win situation to me. Then what about the story DLCs? Desperate Measures feels like a scrapped side quest of the main game because it wasn't good enough. System Rift gives Francis Pritchard a nice goodbye. And if Criminal Past is okay, but it really had to give the player more time at the beginning to explore and to settle in, as the plot kicks off before the player even got used to the place. I never had such a hard time trying to figure out whether or not to recommend a game. If it was just the game, then sure, go ahead and play it, but make sure to have a stable frame rate, otherwise it's unplayable. The game itself is amazing, although it has flaws thanks to the games that came before, especially in regards to location variation. Although Prague is extremely detailed and there's something to discover at every corner. It's like a perfect blend so that both action-oriented and pure stealth-oriented players can get their fullest out of this experience. On the other hand, we have a constant reminder that this game could have been so much more. I can't help it. I have to give Mankind Divided a 6 with a for fans rating, and it hurts me to do so. I want people to experience this game. I want people to acknowledge how good it is, but I just can't.
Power to the people.
You mind not pointing that at me? Don't you have anything better to do than waste my time? Think real